Hello, my lovely friends. How's everyone doing today? Welcome to another episode of Carpo's Philosophy, whatever the hell you want to call it, the random channel that after 5 years, 6 years now, I've managed to still keep random. And it's really funny, I keep hearing this term pop up, YouTube drama, and, you know, I'm not really involved in the YouTube community very much. Believe it or not, I use YouTube a lot, but I don't really watch much YouTube. The videos I do watch are very limited, like a couple, there's one called The School of Life, for example, and then like, you know, Wireless Philosophy, things like that. And several channels which have smaller, like 3 to 5 minute videos, and you know, my attention span for really long-term, drawn-out stuff is pretty limited, unless it's, let's just say, unless it's universal. In other words, I have a hard time sitting and listening to someone talk for half an hour about something that's going on in the world right now that may be irrelevant in a couple of years, or something historically that can't be changed and it's over and it doesn't really affect me now or the world now, or even more so the things about the future, you know, which was another thing I wanted to talk about in here, which was like the whole end times idea that people get really tied into. But, you know, I was thinking about, it's funny, I saw this clip the other day about, like, I've seen several, you'll hear it on, like, I'll be watching a video that I do listen to, and somebody will mention the name of somebody else, and some situation that went down regarding their YouTube channel, and how they feel like they're being censored. And when you dig down deeper into it, you find out that, you know, they're not really being censored. It's that the subjects they're talking about, YouTube doesn't want to, in other words, the AdSense account. This is how it works. A person has a YouTube channel, they put ads on their channel, then the companies which are advertising, they pay AdSense, which is the account, you know, the AdSense account you have, and then they pay you pennies, trivial pennies, to flood your channel with advertisements. And I'm not here to diss anyone. I mean, that's the reason why, you know, if you use that method for, and you have, let's say, a specific channel that deals with a specific subject, and that you know, it's valuable content, and you want to advertise on it in order to make a profit, that's fine. That's why I started my Patreon account, because people had said, you know, can I donate a few bucks or something? And I said, you know, I didn't start this channel to make profit. That was never my intention. It was a way for me to sit down and talk about things, you know. And I've been growing with my channel and with my subscribers, and this whole time YouTube has really changed in the last 7 years, like unbelievably. I mean, there's some channels out there that are just never seen that are really good, and then there's other channels which just blow me away with the amount of subscribers they've got. Like this one particular guy I saw, it was on the hot list or whatever on YouTube, and I've seen this guy before. I don't remember how his name's actually pronounced. It's like Casey something. I don't even want to get into it because I don't want to, like, particularly quote, you know, a person, and people think I'm talking shit. I don't watch the guy's videos, but he's got gets millions of views, you know, within a day. And he was talking about another YouTuber, PewDiePie, who's had his issue with, you know, this guy supposedly made like something like $5 million last year or something. It's unbelievable. These guys make so much money just talking about whatever it is they do, video games, or maybe they're vloggers and traveling. And once you get wrapped up in your channel and you start profiting on it, then you're tied into those profits, and you're tied into coming up with material. So if there's something that, let's say, catches the ear, becomes viral, a person will talk about it, and then another person will make a video talking about them. A good example would be, let's say if I decided to take my channel a different direction today, and I started posting titles like, you know, Trump travel ban this, or, you know, Steve Mnuchin, or whatever his name is, you know, the guy that he's got in his office, who's the, what is it? Well, it's not, you know, he's a banker, but he's, whatever, it doesn't matter. Point is, if I started naming off specific issues that had to do with what's going on right now in the world, let's say, and then I took my channel and I changed all of my keywords to, like, politically charged words, or things like Illuminati, conspiracy, all this, I could probably double my subscriptions, within a year. The ones that took me 5 years to get. Just because a person has to be looking for something in order to find it. And when people go onto YouTube, Facebook, anywhere, they might search out a particular keyword to see what people are talking about. And the reason I mention this is because for a lot of people, that's what they do. They're into what's happening at the moment. But for me, it's just, I don't want that. I don't want that controversy of having a whole bunch of random videos that I don't want to make about subjects just to get views. That's where, I have a different approach to things. I guess a good example is during the Kratom event when the DEA was trying to ban Kratom. I made quite a few videos about Kratom that month. And the one about the DEA ban and the title, it got, like 10,000 views or something, much more than any of my other videos. And it was because people were looking for that. So I could have said, well, I'm just going to start making just Kratom videos, but I don't want to do that because I want to be varied. Same thing happened with what was happening at Standing Rock. Right when there was a major event going on there, I started talking about that. And I'm mentioning this because it reminds me that there's certain trigger things that make people want to go, oh, wow, I can get a lot more views or likes or whatnot. I find it to be kind of silly that we've gone to the way of trying to get people to like what we have to say merely because we're saying things that we know people want to hear. I guess that's one of the more complex things about, the things that I talk about in my life is I don't have a particular, a sense of, hold on, I need to vape. I hear noise out there. Somebody's being noisy. I've a cool thing that I did. I got a bridge, and that's something else I wanted to talk about. I made this video. I've been on this YouTube channel for 5 years, and at least for most of that, a majority of that, I'm not even sure how much, at least the last few years, I've been missing a tooth right here, my canine, and it's always kept me from smiling too much, And I've spent thousands of dollars now. I'm going to spend a lot more. I've been going every week to get stuff done, like I mentioned before. And this whole tooth was just gone, and then I got the two next to them replaced and capped with a bridge between. And I'll tell you, it's really funny because how you can run a channel for that long with, like I have been, and talking in so many videos facing the camera, but nobody's ever once mentioned my missing tooth in all those years and the thousands of comments I've had, meaning that I've probably hidden it pretty well. And my front teeth have some problems up front I'm getting fixed next time, so I'll be able to fully smile again. But that's a really good example for me to give for how we get so used to things being a certain way, and we get so tied into, say, not smiling a certain way or facing the camera a certain way. I could use that metaphor and extend it to all kinds of things that we just learn to tolerate about our lives, that once they're fixed, we feel so much better. But I consider myself a pretty easygoing person, a non-stressed person, but I wasn't always that way. I had anxiety in my 30s that I didn't even realize I had. And I started to learn to conquer that through intention, through mental evaluations, transmutations, alchemy of the mind, and all the different reading that I'd done, all the different learning that I'd done about subjects, the history and the future. I realized it doesn't lead anywhere. The only thing that really matters is that we get a rounded view of what's going on in the world so we can live a better life right now. And a lot of people would disagree. Hold on. Make sure I got plenty of time left on my camera. A lot of people would disagree and say that no, the afterlife matters, or tell you which way to live, which God to believe in, or which direction you should be going. But in your heart, we all know. We know what's important is to just embrace the moment we have right now. And it's very difficult because living in the now doesn't mean we just ignore the past and the future. For me, living in the now is a matter of realizing what I have and trying to make each moment count as best I can, but not hurting, beating myself up when I don't fulfill an obligation I wanted to fulfill, or where I have a lazy day where I don't get anything done, or I feel like I should have done this or done that, or called somebody or not, or helped somebody I could have, maybe, whatever it might be. We always have something that we could have done better. But at the end of the day, and this is something I learned from Manly P. Hall actually years ago, was at the end of the day, a man should be able to sit and relax and go over his day. It's a review of the day. And I didn't do that for most of my life, and I'm still learning to do it. It's not something that we just do naturally. It means to sit and think about all the interactions and things we had through the day, not just with other people, but within our own minds, all the emotions we felt and things we did, and say, how could I do better tomorrow? And it's a learning experience, not to beat ourselves up over. A lot of folks dwell on the past way too much. I mean, we all know somebody who's obsessed with blaming their parents for the way they are. The person who's constantly talking about how, God, if I just would have done this, or just done that, or like that movie. I was joking around about there's the football guy in the movie Napoleon Dynamite, and he's like, back in '82, I used to be able to throw a pigskin a quarter mile. And it was this, the older guy that was like, he was the college football guy that never made it, and he spent his whole life thinking about what he could have been. There's so many people like that, associate themselves with being a certain thing or what they've desired, and they can't break away and just be a free spirit. And close your eyes, forget the mirror, forget the body, realize the spirit, the part of yourself, the consciousness that is you, as being separate from that. Dwelling on the past gets us nowhere. And the future is the same way. I was going to do a separate video about the end times prophecies and the idea that the shit's going to hit the fan. It's nothing new to me, because it's not like I've never considered the aspect. In other words, I'm not just seeing the world through rose-colored glasses and saying everything's okay. On the contrary, I spent a decade assuming that the world was going to fall apart, the economy was going to collapse, and that we were all going to go have to fend for ourselves, and I prepared for that mentally. I stored food, and then one day I just laughed at myself. Said, the ultimate preparation is being prepared for to handle your day. If you're suffering through the day worrying about tomorrow, you're missing it. You're missing the whole point. If you're suffering through the day because of yesterday, you're also missing it. And, all these gurus and spiritual teachers that you see who say these same things, but do it in a way like, if I were to sit here and say, you must just remain calm. Do not let the past taint your future. And try to fit in like 5 minutes worth of speech into an hour-long thing like somebody like Rupert Spira does, or Eckhart Tolle. And no offense to either of them. Great things to teach. I'm nowhere near, the same type of person, so I'm not even going to make a comparison. We all handle things differently. The point I'm trying to make there is that when we see these teachers, these people who seem calm, collected, soft-spoken, we try to picture ourselves as being that relaxed and that outgoing and calm and just content. And then we see that that's a facade, that everyone wakes up in the morning and does the same thing, takes a shit, takes a shower, eats their breakfast, that we're all just humans. And underneath the guys, underneath the robes, we're all just naked people. And underneath that robe, we're just a naked consciousness. And it's so hard for us to not associate our brains with our body. And it's even harder not to associate our bodies with, our environment. To really just be conscious. I think that's why some people, myself included, very much enjoy psychedelics and being in altered states. It's not about getting high at all. It's about removing the external to become one with the internal, which in itself is the external. If that makes sense. It's as above, so below. That the microcosm is the macrocosm, and that what we think is what we are. And we were raised to say, you are what you eat. The truth is, you are what you think. And even your food won't save you if you don't have the right thoughts. Anxiety can cause our food to be improperly digested. It can cause us to deplete our serotonin levels and all different types of issues that can come. We can make ourselves, literally worry ourselves to death. And that's a literal interpretation of what we can do. But they say that, a day of fear will take more off of your life than probably a day of smoking cigarettes. If a person lives in constant fear, it's very difficult for your body to do anything else because you have that fear. And many people I've noticed, they tend to set it in the background and say, I'm not scared, I'm not worried about it, I'm just concerned, I'm just being aware, being awake. But if you're aware of it constantly, then, and we're too wrapped up in either the future or the past, then we can't live our moment. That's probably what kept me from doing some of the things in my life I wanted to do. The past is that I've had experiences with my teeth, for example, where every tooth I've ever had pulled or root canal, I felt extreme pain because I have a high tolerance to Novocaine and deep roots. And so I've used that past bad experience to limit myself to taking care of it now. It's so hard to remember that we're always changing, ever changing. We're a different person every day if we choose to be. And that doesn't mean that we have to constantly be changing our values. It just means that we're changing, be like the river. You can flow around the bends. I like to think of it, I like to think of life as a river because it's the perfect metaphor, and it's been seemingly overused because it's so perfect. You could float along. I think of it as a fast-paced river, and you're on an inner tube, and you're floating along. And sometimes you see a rock in front of you, and you can pull yourself and avoid that by being aware and paying attention. Sometimes you just get stuck in a little eddy, and no matter what you do, you can spin in circles. But eventually, you always break free and continue on. And that you can look down when the times are calm, and you can see a reflection in the water. But when times are rough, you can't even see the bottom. And you have no idea where you're going, how deep it is. And when we try to resist the current, it ends up being more painful than it's worth. And that's why I want to see life as something that we're always learning from. And maybe that river will ease into the ocean eventually. I guess when we die, we'll all go back into the ocean. But I think that's fear of death is a big part of what keeps people in this constant perpetual state of worry about the past or the future. I wake up like anybody else and think, this is pretty amazing to be alive. I'm a conscious human being. I'm living in this world, this 3D reality where I can see this narrow spectrum of light, of color, within this huge spectrum of radiation. And I can hear sounds, I can feel, but all of this is very limited to what's really going on. And the more we get, start thinking about that, it can be like overwhelming, like, wow, life really is a miracle. You don't need anybody to tell you that. But if we get too wrapped up in the bullshit and the what ifs, then we miss it. So take care, my friends. Namaste and all that stuff, and I'll see you next time.